Hey, what's going on, everybody? That's the part they edit out. You won't get that later on.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. I'm your host, Troy Rawlings. And today on the show, we have an amazing, vibrant, wonderful, blissful, Barbie Licious empowerment coach, um, mom motivator, mom life advocate, next level life advocate, um, proud Canadian, the one and only. Make some noise for Miss Barbie Liss. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm good, thank you. How about you?
I'm great. I'm great. Me
Good,
and Barbie
good.
so long ago, so long ago. It's like,
So long ago.
but I
Way
love the
back.
fact I tell people a lot of my audience, the majority of my audience are women. From doing our sex, love, and relationship show and just motivational stuff. A lot of the demo. It's good to know your demo. You know, I can be like, yeah, I'm a
Mhm.
guy's guy, and I have women 40 plus watching my content. But
Yeah.
I love motivating my sisters from all walks of life. I love motivating people, period, about the next piece. I always
Mhm.
ask, what's next? What are you doing next? What excites you? What are you passionate about? And you live there. It seems like you dwell there. That's a safe haven.
Yeah.
And but I can Quentin Tarantino this interview and be all over the place. So let's go all the way back. Where are you originally from?
I am from Toronto, Canada.
Oh, okay,
Still here, originally and still here, as most Canadians do. Yeah.
that's good. And you're from Canada. You are so your mom,
I'm a mom. I have three kids.
three kids. So what are the ages?
Uh, they are old. I have adults. I have a daughter, 31. My son is 29. Yeah, they all had birthdays this week. So they turned 29, they turned 31, 29, and 26. Girl, boy, girl.
Wait,
Yeah.
all of your kids' birthdays is the week before Christmas.
Yep, yep,
I'm not laughing.
yep.
Well, parents right now.
It's,
Some parents are laughing. Some parents are like, ah!
yeah, it was crazy when they were little, but it's kind of fun now.
And then
Yeah.
they get older and they start separating. It's like, no, no, no. This is my birthday, mom. It's not Christmas. It's my birthday. Christmas
Yeah.
is
Well,
next.
there was like a big effort to make sure everybody had what everybody had, right? So,
Oh, goodness.
yeah,
Goodness.
yeah.
So, how did you get on this path? What was the journey?
Mm.
Born in Toronto, born in Canada. What was your life's path? What kind of work were you doing before you got into this?
Yeah, well, I've done a few things. I did a psych degree in school, and then my ex and I started an art business.
Hmm.
So I was in the art world for many, many years, and then stayed home to raise my kids, and then went back to working. But I went back to, I was a personal trainer in a women's gym for 15 years.
Hmm.
And I did that actually till very recently. I've been a life coach, a women's empowerment coach for a few years, but I was doing it sort of part time and I was at the gym. And then during this whole pandemic thing, I just decided, you know what, I'm just, I'm called here. And I left the gym and I've been devoting full time to my empowerment coaching, working with women, mothers in particular, but women in general. And yeah, I work with women to help them reclaim self. I find women often we are eternal nurturers and we nurture the whole planet and generally forget about ourselves. And leads to through life stages, you kind of forget about who you are. And I know in my own experience, many times, but like, especially an example would be like when my kids were grown and moved out and that empty nest thing. And you kind of stand there going, like, so now who am I? Right? And we kind of lose who we are. We hold so many roles. We're mom and we're partner and we're daughter and we're a friend, and we kind of lose a bit of self along the way. So I work with women to help reclaim that, to re-empower them to live purposefully and fulfilled and, refuel themselves when often are depleted. This pandemic has been crazy for everybody, so depletion's a big one.
And
Um,
you mentioned something key that a lot of people may hear and not fully take. How did you know? I take it you were doing some coaching already with your training and things like that. It kind of goes holistic. Oh, let's do the
mm,
training, nutrition, how you feel. How did you know you were called? What? How did you know you were called to this? Like, if you don't do this, something.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I love that question. A lot of it as a personal trainer working with one-on-one with women. It was in a women's gym. So it's kind of like trainer slash coach there anyway, because there's a lot of talking and sharing going on. And I loved that. That's what that filled me very much so. And then along my journey that really pushed me in this direction, um, it filled me so much to offer what I've learned on the past 4 years, which I'll dive into, but that the journey that I've been on took me to a place where I felt just so heartfelt and so fulfilled and called to doing this work that it almost wasn't a choice. I had to do this. That's
This
my
was a twist.
why.
Right.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
talk about that on your page, your site.
Hmm.
I'm big on color. I'm a mushy guy. I'm
Hmm.
I'm big on colors and how colors make you feel. You know,
Hmm.
um, I see you do a lot of that in your imaging and your work, how your talks go. I'm not sure if, well, I know now you're not having any retreats or anything, but it seems like you're that perfect person to set an atmosphere where people can de-
Yeah, I
de-stress.
try to. I'm a Reiki practitioner and an energy healer, and I think all that comes into my coaching as well. So, and my journey the past few years, which I guess I'll dive into, but that took me on a very spiritual healing path for myself. So all of that comes into my work as well. So I try to create a very safe, loving, nurturing space to dive in and reclaim that goddess that was supposed to be there the whole time and got kind of caught up in life, like who were you before life happened? And in a really safe, empowering way. So it's not really like diving into everything that's wrong, but more about empowering everything that's right. It's got a
Right,
much more positive approach. But
right. I love that.
yeah, yeah, I
No,
was going to dive into a little bit. The journey that took me really, that pushed me onto this path was the 4 years ago in the summer of 2016. My youngest daughter, who was 21 at the time, was raped by a stranger. And that launches into a journey for everybody, really. Like her story it's her story to tell, but I think we can all kind of, it's not an easy journey post rape to bring yourself back to anything. And her journey, as a result of her journey, I had a journey because I was her support and her, my world just kind of, everything else kind of went away, and my purpose and my sole focus was in her survival. And that's a journey, and it's a journey that I offer a lot of now too, in supporting moms who are supporting kids, because it's kind of a lonely journey. Your focus is on your child, and people are inquiring about your child, and they should be, because people should be inquiring about my child. But I found, like, really nobody asked how I was, and to own that, like, you need help, you almost feel guilty,
so
because yeah, and like, I don't want to make this about me, because it's not about me, but I'm suffering here watching my child suffer. And it was a whole I had to learn a whole new way of mothering, because what I had known and what we had done, it wasn't working. She was in a dark place. She wasn't, her responses were different. She was different. I was different. Everything changed. So we had to learn a whole new way of momming. And that's the path really that brought me to where I am today. That's the path that um, I did seek guidance, and I did grow spiritually, and that brings you on a path of questioning our culture and our society, and how are we living in a world that offers this, and patriarchal culture, and how that affects women and men, and healing that needs to be done for both. My focus really right now is with women, but like men are damaged by it as well. And that journey and education and work that I did to heal myself was really what launched me into offering it forward from there. And then the second piece of that is that on my daughter's journey, so we did begin with a typical judicial system, which was incredibly re-traumatizing. I mean, we're in Canada, but it's the same in the States. It's a sexual assault trial it's very victim shaming and victim blaming, and it's ugly and it's re-traumatizing. And my daughter pushed for a restorative justice outcome, which was new to us. We'd never heard of it, and it came to her on her path, and she pushed to have a restorative justice outcome. And ultimately, as we understand it, she's the first in North America to have a sexual assault case conclude with restorative justice.
Wait, for those that may not be getting it, instead of jail time, him going to a mental facility or a...
So what restorative justice is it's a method that focuses on repair rather than punishment.
Right.
So it's
which the penal system is supposed to be initially.
Yeah, right. It's deeply rooted in indigenous cultures and Jewish cultures and many other cultures which have used this kind of method for many, many, many years. It's not new, but it's not recognized and it's not used, but it is there. And it focuses on repair rather than punishment, and it honors that there's a ripple effect when there's a crime. So rather than a court case, which really in a sexual assault case, usually there is no conviction, and if there is, it's a very short sentence. And what happens when you sit in jail, and you sit in jail and then you come out, and like, what's changed, right? Like, nothing's changed. The system's it's not set up to be healing or therapeutic or transformative. So restorative justice honors that the repair idea rather than the punishment, and it honors the ripple. So I would be a ripple, right? So there's the person who's harmed and the person who caused harms, and a ripple effect outwards. So my whole family was affected, and no doubt his whole family. If I was the mom of the perpetrator, I'd be affected too. So it ripples. So what happened for us was he was mandated to therapy. He did close to a year of extensive therapy. He learned about consent. He learned, whatever else he did in therapy. And when his therapist felt he was ready, we sat in a restorative justice circle that was guided by facilitators who've been trained. And our circle ended up being 8 hours. There was 7 of us in total, and we sat 8 hours in circle with her assailant, and he brought a friend, and there was myself and my daughter and my other daughter, and the lawyer that had helped, 2 lawyers that had helped her to get this system going. So it was you go around the circle, and there's like a talking piece. So the only one talking is the one with the piece. So you go one by one around the circle, and we really circled it 3 times in 8 hours. And he was the last one to speak. But what you get with restorative justice with this kind of thing is you receive accountability, and you receive remorse, and you receive empathy, and you have an opportunity to voice, for myself, things that were like locked in there for 3 years. For my daughter, questions that she had so much that was in her, for to get it out and to look him in the eye and to ask him, like, how could you? And to ask questions. She had questions, I had questions, and then it goes around, and he has the chance to tell his story and offer remorse, and she always said she just wanted him to look her in the eye and explain how, and she received that, and I had questions and I received answers, and at the end of that 8 hours, I mean, I'll say it was like the most brutal, beautiful, awful, incredible, like it was every emotion in
Um,
one day. That was the most healing, truly healing experience and the most transformative day of my life. I think that all of us in that circle would say it was the most transformative day of any of our lives. That's what healing is. Our justice system doesn't give that, and through, I mean, I guess there's, if you can jump in if you want to, but I'm gonna like all of
no,
that whole.
I was going to say that I couldn't, I'm sitting here pushing back tears. Um,
Mm,
you said, this was a stranger. She didn't know this person.
no. So the only time she'd ever seen him was the night of, and then again a year later at the prelim trial,
I have a daughter. I
and
have a
then
daughter, and I'm thinking to myself, my mentality if this happens to my child, and just the way you're talking about it, and of course, I have to talk to your daughter and see, hey, how. And I probably couldn't make it through talking to your daughter. I'm hardly making it through talking to you right now. um, and I've never heard of that in that sense. This wasn't a date rape. This wasn't somebody she knew. This was a stranger. And your daughter offered to have restorative
Mm.
justice.
So, I mean, this is, I guess we both learned along the journey. And then when I say that the past 4 years have been transformative for me, like I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago at all. My beliefs, my being, like everything about me has shifted because of that. And what you really, people would say to me, like, weren't you angry? Weren't you? Well, and I said this in our circle too, like when I said, was I angry with my first, I said to him, I wasn't angry. And then I thought, no, that's not true. I was angry, but I didn't have time to think about that I was angry with him because my daughter was struggling to survive. So that's
Right.
really all that I was focused on. And along our healing journey, I couldn't give him much thought. It wasn't, I didn't, there was no time for it. So by the time I did give him some thought, I had come to such a belief that that there's a huge cultural problem, that we are existing in a culture that has perpetuated this, that the patriarchal system has created a story for men and created a story for women that has led to rape culture. And I believe that everybody has a story. And at the time I didn't know his. Going into our circle, I got to hear his, and I did say to him, um, obviously I'll never forgive what you did. That's that I can't condone and ever forgive, but I can hold compassion to the human who had whatever story that led him to do such a thing. And I think the healing has to happen culturally. The healing has to happen, and this is where I work with women. Like, we have been handed so many messages that they're not right. And we need to, like, I call myself an unteacher. I'm gonna like unteach all these messages and then reteach the ones that are really actually the ones that we should absorb. And I can, again, not forgive the action, but he's a victim of a culture that pushed him right into this horrific scenario. And so, on that end, there's forgiveness, not for the action. And he took accountability for that too. So that was, you know, pretty helpful too. But um, yeah, I think, you're saying as a dad in the split second of, how you'd respond with your daughter, um, you don't have time in that split second. And I know a lot of like my partner at the time was like, do we know where he lives? I'm like, that's not helpful. And the only thing that mattered was her survival. And she was already, control was already taken from her. And for anybody to respond in a way that was not giving her full control was not effective. And a restorative justice approach is very survivor focused. It was all about what she needed to happen in that circle and what she wanted to see, how it was for her. It was for her healing. And that's how we change society. Putting somebody behind bars to sit there and get pissed off. Like, I always equate it to being a child and being sent to my room, and my parents go to your room and think about what you did. And so I did. I went to my room and I thought about what I did from my perspective, and I got more pissed off. Right. And then they'd say, come out, and nothing changed. Right.
You still got an attitude with them, like, why are you mad at me?
Right. But so, when it was my kids, and I would send them off to like cool down for a bit, and then I'd go back and say to them, like, so what was that? What happened there? And to restorative justice takes more of that approach, a chance to like, hey, here's what you did, and here's why it's not cool, and here's maybe what you could do instead. And then, like this human, like her perpetrator, like he's a transformed person, and he's probably one day gonna, change lives for young men coming forward to teach them a better way. And to me, this is how we heal society. This is how we change a pattern of.
I'm trying to make it through this interview, y'all. It's hard. I was asking before somebody, it was a brief interruption, technical difficulties. I was asking before that, how do you feel that your daughter was changed after it, or did it help at all?
Absolutely. That was healing. I think the 7 of us that sat in that circle were changed that day. That was highly transformative for all of us. And my daughter's she's my hero. She's like a warrior. She's also in the field of coaching today. She works with sensuality and sexual trauma often. And she and I offer retreats together. We do a women's retreat every year. We're both in the work of healing for women and for society, and both advocating for restorative justice, because I think I walked out of that, I thought that her rape and the journey that I took after that was the most life-changing, and it was like the most life-changing thing for me. But our circle that day was truly a transformative day. We walked out of there and we knew this was bigger. It was bigger than me. It was bigger than her. It was a message that had to be. People were healed. People were changed. People were transformed. People were, the humans were honored and heard and offered empathy and compassion and healed. This is the only way we can heal our planet,
Whew. Who's that? This is where breaks. It's like, we're gonna take a commercial. I'm gonna get a commercial. So, and how long ago was the restorative justice circle?
Our circle was a year ago in September. It's pretty recent. Yeah, a lot's happened in that year. I mean, we've both grown into running our businesses and offering forward, and while our retreat had to be canceled last year because of the pandemic, but hoping to bring it back in this year. And yeah, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen, and I think that we can only do it from a place of love. That's it. I heal through love, and I think if we're going to heal this culture and our society and our world and our humanity, it's got to be done through love.
When my father passed away, wonderful guy, but had drug situations, alcohol. But his wife at the time, after he passed, and I agreed, said a quote, the worst thing and that he ever done to anybody was the things he did to himself. He was a wonderful man out. How do you help the people that don't realize how much damage their words and their psyche are doing to themselves by not allowing themselves to go forward, not allowing their self-talk is so negative.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Oh, you messed up again. And instead of, all right, you got this. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she coaches herself on the work project she needs to finish. And I'm like, all right, Karen, go. Yeah. But as far as the self-love piece, the mechanism seems weird. How do you help people that haven't, because of past damage, because of whatever?
Yeah.
As adults, these women don't have the mechanism to turn on the voice of love. They don't have the. How do you help them? What's a key thing that you can do?
I think that self-love is the key to all of it for all of us everywhere. And I think that we've been in a culture that's perpetuated so much self-loathing that we've forgotten how to self-love. So I do a lot of work on self-love and noticing, like, usually by the time someone's come to me, they're ready to look at their story, and I talk about their story. So what is it that's going to trigger you? And let's go back to where that came from. When do you first remember that? And let's look at the story that you were given as a child, from your parents, from TV, from teachers, like, this is the message you were given. And what did you absorb in a message that was maybe the wrong message?
Right.
Right. And how can we offer a different perspective of that? And, I would say, like with you, for example, like with your dad, I would say to you, like, do you forgive your dad? Can you step outside of your little boy Troy who was hurt by his dad, and now look at him and say, like, my dad was a human he was in pain.
Yeah, I got a chance.
Pain.
But my mother has to do that when they were alive. And
so undoing it, I would go back and let's see, like, by usually the person who's coming to me is already ready to step into that path, so we can look at the story that we've, everybody has a story that we've built, and I always say, like, you're the author of your story, and you can't change a circumstance, but you can edit, like, our chapter titles are handed, right? Here's your book, here's the chapter titles, but you get to write them. Right. So let's go back and look at, like, chapter 1, chapter 2. Let's look at what happened, and let's see if we can, like, edit and tweak. Like, when your mom did this and this, what was the message you received? And was that really the right message? Right? Maybe there was a different message, and we can rewrite and bring you back to a place of, like, that's the path that we're going to take to self-love. And let's vision forward. Who do you see yourself as in your perfect mind's eye? Like, how do we get back to her? That's our journey, is like that self-reclamation, right?
No, that's powerful. I never heard it put like that. It's like you have the story there, and especially being a writer, I know what rewrites and edits are. It's like, okay, but how can you're literally going back and changing the perception of what that situation was.
Exactly.
Because perception, I'm realizing more and more about life is perception dictates everything.
Yeah.
You're looking at the homeless person that's happy go lucky. Hey man, how you doing? Hey, everything all right, man? All right. It's like,
yeah,
I'm so happy. He's happy, he's homeless. But to him, he's like, you know what? Another day. And
you don't know the story that the message that we absorb as kids. And I've had this conversation with my kids, and they'll come up with a memory, and they tell me their memory, and I'm like, wow. My memory is different. My example of that is, like, if I put down, like, a wine bottle between the two of us, and I say to you, okay, Troy, describe the wine bottle, and you go, well, it's like this beautiful label with, like, trees and a vineyard and, like, and then I say, no, it's just like words. It's a bunch of words, because I'm getting the other side of the bottle, right? The truth is, there's a wine bottle, but we're both seeing it completely different. So our perspective of that wine bottle, it's the same wine bottle, but our perspective's different. So you could be the little kid who went in the kitchen to ask your mom a question and she was like crazy busy and she like shooed you out of the kitchen and she thought nothing of it. She was busy and you took it to mean my mom doesn't want me here. Then the next day something else happens and you start building this story that may or may
Mm,
not be true,
mm,
right? So let's go back. Let's go back and look at the messages that you absorbed that built this whole foundation of a story that might not even, it may not have been the actual story. It might have been something else and you perceived it that way.
I
So
tell you
let's,
guys all the time, if you see me writing, you should be writing. Go back and look at the story from a different perspective. And that's
yeah.
why it's good to therapy. That's why it's good to have somebody that's a coach that can walk
Mm,
things, because you can go back and look. Um,
yeah. And
it'll
then we're going
burn.
to go forward. Then we're going to go forward. Then we're going to like make vision boards and we're going to say, like I say to them, how do you see future you? Where are you going to be in 5 years or 10 years? And how do you see that? And what are we going to do to get there? And that's like, I focus more on the reclamation. Our first few sessions might be like picking back, but I want to go forward. I want to like
Right.
vision forward and what's holding you back, right? What's holding you back? How are we going to get you there? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good stuff. And yeah, it's one of those.
Mm,
And I knew earlier. I
mhm.
said, we have to talk. If she talks about that situation, that's gonna take me out. But it wasn't that. That part was upsetting, kind of sad. But
Mm,
when we started talking about the restorative justice circle,
mm,
yeah, because I could envision myself, and I've had situations like that. You're younger and you're church group or something, and something happens, and you're part of the situation, and but or what I really there were times of men's fellowship or different things we had where they were open air. When I do my events, I've been doing a sex, love, relationship taboo talk tour for 16 years. I love helping men and women communicate better in love.
love
So
that.
it started as circles and raw and cut.
Mm,
Any question you want. Let's go raw. I'm a comedian, so it's based on that. We're having fun. And some of the realest conversations came out of that.
yeah,
And same scenario, that
yeah,
tribal circle, that safe
that's it.
haven circle. What happens in this circle stays in this circle. That's a very indigenous thing. And a lot of people
That's
have
right.
gotten away from so um that's powerful. So I know you do coaching. People can get in
Hmm.
touch with you, and all of Barbie's information gonna be below in the YouTube link, IG link, whatever. Don't hesitate. Don't go into next year and not get in touch with Barbie. It's
That's
good when you
right.
got somebody to talk to. Just she seems like anything you say to her, you're like, but he crazy, Barbie. Okay, I know he's crazy. What about you? You're crazy right now.
You know what? We all carry so much wounding and we aren't even aware of all of it. And I know that on my own journey, I keep finding wounds, like, whoa, I didn't even know that one was there, and we keep healing and we keep going. And the more we're open to it, the more we heal, the more we grow. And this year, especially, has been so super challenging for so many people. And I'm facing a lot of wounds or loneliness or where it's coming from. And I think that, I've been saying in my promotion now, like, let's do it now. Let's like kick off 2021, walking in, leaving behind what wants to be left behind and walking in like fully empowered and make it a better one.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. Like
Yeah.
we're the remnant of, like, I've lost people, friends this year. My
Yeah.
mom passed.
Oh,
Um,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much. And she
Yeah.
was sick, and I was at a good place with her, but it's like, some relationships are gone forever, and some people are not here. And it's like, if we're here, there's always a time when we're here. We make it through a year. That's really what New Year's celebration is supposed to be like. Like, my father's birthday was December 31st, New Year's
Mm.
Eve. We call it Joy Day. I got to make sure I have he always wore a suit and a brim. So I got to get me a brim that I can wear in a suit and make
Yeah.
sure I'm celebrating, because he was just a phenomenal. His spirit was so good, but and inside, he suffered from depression for years. But on the
Yeah.
outside, that's Dell. Mr. Dell's fun. He's And how many people, and for me to bring that full circle, to think about how many mothers, like until I became a single parent, until I had my daughter, most of the time until I had her, I did not understand fully how we say strong, and we throw strong around a lot, but strong a lot of times insinuates that that person doesn't need help. So I don't want to say
I love
but
it.
because I know sisters, and I call all women sisters, black, white, whatever. I know sisters that have 3 kids. They're single mother to 3 kids. In some cases by 3 different men. And they're doing it. And they
Yeah.
have a sense of just doing what they do.
Yeah.
And you're looking at them on this side now. I look at them before, it was like, oh, hey, he was going to come out. And, you don't know what it took for that person to go out. Like I'm having an event and I see them there. Do you know what it took for this person to get out the house?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I love that you mentioned that about strength, because that's a big one in our society, that we're led to believe, like, stand up, brush it off. And I thought that forever, like I'm the strong one. And to me that meant I can do anything. I'll stand up, I'll deal with it. It'll be fine. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. And I think when after my daughter was raped, I guess about 8 weeks in, and I'm feeling like I'm not so okay, but I'm holding my kid up, right? So it's like that mother with the car, she holds the car up so her baby won't, right? And I'm like holding the car up, but I'm sinking. And I think it was the first time in my life that I ever reached out to a friend and said, like, I'm
I'm not.
not okay. I'm not okay. And that's when I went to get help. And that's when I realized, like, it's not strength to stand up and brush it under the rug. What strength is actually dealing with it, right? That takes so much strength to step into your shadow work and to like heal your wounds and rise above it. That is what strength is. So seek help. If you feel you're not okay, strength isn't owning it. Strength isn't dealing with it. Strength is not in pretending you're fine. And for
Right.
all those moms that you see out there doing it, like sometimes we should all check in and go like, hey, are you okay? Like ask the mom, because no one asked me when I was going through that with her. Nobody said to me, how are you? Right?
Right. Because you're human. You have the same feelings. I want to kill the
Yeah.
world. My daughter got hurt. I
Yeah.
want to blow something up. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
And I'm not okay. And I'm
Ask.
watching her suffer. I'm watching my daughter struggle between wanting to survive or not. And I'm not okay watching that. And I'm supporting her and it's killing me. And I can't respond because she can't see my response. And nobody's there going,
Be strong for her.
right, while I'm coming apart.
You I don't know the young lady's name. You may. There was the young lady who started the Vagina Monologues,
Mm,
and I I think she has a TED Talk. So if you guys get a chance to look up the TED Talk,
mhm.
and I think she says it in the TED Talk that everything in society is trying not to get emotional. Everything in society is trying to kill the little girl in all of us.
Yeah.
And she starts breaking down how, and I had to be mindful of this with my daughter. Sometimes I have conversations with her. I'm like, look, you're 9. Certain things you should be able to do. Then I pull back and I'm like, she's 9. And I tell her, I want her to be a child. I want her to have fun. I don't want. And I tell her sometimes we'll be driving to something. I said, Zoe, never lose that joy you have. Never lose your zeal. Never lose, because that's bright. I see in her when I was acting a fool as a kid. My friends were like, calm down.
Yeah. What
You know,
is that? People trying to squish you. Don't ever be squished.
right? Because I'm like, Zoe, calm down. She's like, I was like, I said, oh, let's take a walk. I said, that's my fault. We haven't been
Yeah.
outside. Especially now, all these parents that are zapping out. He's like, why don't they call them now? They haven't been outside, y'all. They have not. You haven't taken a walk with your child, ridden a bike with your
Yeah.
child. Take them out, let them run, just jump in the field.
Yeah. We were squished. So, like I grew up I mean, I'm sure I'm older than you, but I very much grew up in a because I said so society, right? Like because
Yes,
I said so was
I'm
a good enough answer.
a
That was
70s
it,
brat. I'm
right?
45. Yes, yeah,
Right.
it's yeah.
So, right? Because I said so was an answer. So we didn't question a whole bunch. right?
Right.
And because I said so wasn't always a good answer, and I always use like, we didn't question. And we were squished so much. We were like to be seen and not heard, and because I said so was okay. So like voices were squished. My
Mm.
voice was squished because my parents didn't want to hear what I had to say. They gave an answer because I said so, and that's it. And I didn't have a chance to voice how I felt. So it gets squished,
Yeah,
right?
it's hard. I've had to, and I'm a communicator. That's
Yeah.
what I'm good at. So if I can't communicate with my daughter or my spouse or anybody,
Yeah.
something's wrong. So
Yeah.
I'm like, my brother must, so I'll tell my daughter, by the time I'm telling her to go, it's funny because me telling my daughter to go in the corner gets the same response I used to give my mother when I knew she was about to take a spell on me. She was like, oh yeah, go upstairs. No, wait, Ma, wait. And I'm like, stand in the corner. Daddy, wait, just give me give me a second. I'm like, I gave you 20,000 seconds. Now you
Yeah.
have to stand in the corner. But it's funny to me because at one point in time, I didn't think that would have been an effective punishment or effective course of action. But after I
Right.
do it now, I go out and I sit down and talk. I'm like, look, Daddy's not good with feeling this way. And then let's talk. Talk to me. You're not going to get in trouble.
Right.
Talk.
Exactly. You want them to be able to have a voice. They may not always get their way, but they should always have a chance to express how they feel. That's how I did it with my kids too. I think that, you might not always have your way, but your voice should matter. I should at least hear how you feel and honor it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a part of the things that you don't say are the things that tend to jack you up. And that's one of the things I try to
Mm,
tell my daughter, look, it's not the fact that you did this, that, and wrong. It's the fact that since you said nothing, or since
mm,
you address it, or since you're not responding, or your attitude, or so I go through
yeah.
different things and different ways to communicate it out. And we used to hear that, tell me the truth. If you tell me the truth, you won't get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You tell them,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and you can see him like it's like steam coming out their ears. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
but I think the conversation's so important. Our kids need to know, and that's a restorative justice approach, right? To have empathy, to have accountability, to have voice, to let them be heard, because feeling that you've been heard is
mm,
healing right away, right? Even if she tells you something, if your daughter says to you, like, this is why I did it, Daddy, and you're like, this is like so not okay. She feels already she's healing because she at least was heard. Right? And then you can say to her, okay, I hear you, doll. I hear you. And I understand that this is where you were going, but here's why it's not going to work.
right.
Right? That's transformative.
Mm,
That's transformative instead of because I said so, that's it. And then you go off and you're just pissed off. And that's when we perpetuate that cycle of hurt people instead of, being more transformative and healing.
right. Amazing. Amazing,
Mm.
Barbie. Barbie Liss. Okay. Talk to you for I'm gonna call for my sessions. He's like, you talking to a guy? Not really. He's but he interviews me.
Yeah, it's
Barbie
good.
Liss. No, so how can people, and I want people, anybody who's watching this,
Mhm.
this is a basic step. Emailing or reaching out or following Barbie Liss on Instagram. Simple.
Yeah.
Saying hello. Simple. Barbie liked something on my LA Radio Now page, the radio station page. And I saw her and I was like, I don't recognize her. I went and saw what she was doing. And I was just talking to a friend last night about her developing her voice, podcast recordings, and me helping to produce that. And some of the things she mentioned was about spirituality and women. She wants women to feel comfortable in their own skin, and she's into guns and she likes this. And I don't want people to feel judged if they're just getting into what they're into. And I was like, you got a lot of good stuff here. And I'm listening to her and I'm like, I know it's good 'cause I'm getting chills talking about it, but I'm listening to her. So when I saw what you were doing, I was like, oh, this is kind of in line with what
Mhm.
I'm saying. So I don't believe in coincidence. So if you have something like this, your resource, you're watching this, and you know you're holding all this stuff on you. You know, when you look up, you feel lonely because you've cleared the way. Or when you look up, you feel like you're overwhelmed all the time, but it's just what I got to do. You know, hit up, hit up Barbie, hit up Barbie, say, hey, I saw the interview. I thought it was great. And I'm hurting, whatever's going to be, how it comes out. Say it, you know what I'm saying? She's on Eastern Standard Time in Toronto, Canada, and doing some amazing stuff. Tell people how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Instagram is always easy. It's @_Barbie Liss. I'm on Facebook as well, Barbie Liss. You can shoot me an email. It's barbie@barbieliss.com. Those are probably the easiest ways. For sure, Instagram is probably the quickest way. And yeah, I am here. I'm available. I'm happy to have a conversation. If this wants to continue, or you feel like you need some guidance back to yourself, I am here. I am honored to hold space. Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome. Sorry for breaking down so much.
No, it's
like
I know.
So I'm glad I keep certain things on my media desk so I can just grab. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Oh, no, I so appreciate this platform and this space to share. I do. Thank you.
No, amazing. Thank you for the work you're doing. Continue doing it. Thank you for taking time out today.
Thank you.
I got to talk to you today. And I value when people do that and make it happen, because obviously somebody needs it. And thank you for this. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Troy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.